Arrow Season 3, Episode 5, The Secret Origin of Felicity Smoak. Now, the whole episode was really good, but I just finished it, so the only thing on my mind is the very end. And it's like, is this Young Justice right now? Because if you haven't seen Young Justice, you won't really understand this, so I'll explain it a little bit. But the main point is that Roy, as Arsenal, and this isn't a spoiler because sadly Young Justice got canceled, so, it's a great show, you should still watch it, but it did get canceled, so the main thing is that Roy is actually like a secret agent, and he didn't even know he was a secret agent. He got like brainwashed, and then, poof, here's a code word, and he turns on everybody. And as soon as I saw this ending, I was like, did they just do Young Justice? Because that was the first thing in my mind. He has these memories coming up, and I don't know what the heck to expect. So that's, I love the episode, but that is like the big thing. I wasn't expecting them to do any sort of secret. It was actually someone within the team type of reveal for Sarah's murder. That was the last thing I would have expected, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, all the logical options are kind of gone, and they could have introduced a new villain, but man, the way they ended this one was just insane. It was just like, holy crap, I wasn't expecting that, but I had to jump on that topic because, like I said, I just finished the episode, so it's just like right in my head. Like, is this really happening? Like, did he really kill her? So that's all that's on my mind. However, I did love the episode. It was a really great Felicity based episode. We got to learn a ton of stuff about her. I never even remotely thought about anyone's parents in this series, and I guess that's a weird thing to say, but I never thought about that. I never thought, what are Felicity's parents like? What are Diggle's parents like? Or, Roy, I guess we sort of got a concept of it, and he talked about how his parents weren't really there. I just never thought about that type of stuff, and it was really cool to get that. We meet her mom in this episode, who's really funny, and we get to see, for the flashback stuff that Felicity did when she was younger, which ties into the main storyline, or the present day storyline, I should say, with this virus that she actually created, and her ex-boyfriend actually is using it now, and she thought he was dead, and he just turned out to be a good hacker, which does actually happen in real life. People, if you get caught and you're like an amazing hacker, you can get hired by the government. So that stuff is real. I don't know if they really say like every person just killed themselves or anything like that. But I do know that type of stuff does happen. You can get actually hired by the government. So that was kind of interesting. He comes back to life, and right, I guess he doesn't come back to life, but it's revealed that he's still alive. And of course that shocks Felicity, and it was just a really good episode, like learning a lot about her and her past and her goth style and stuff in the flashbacks. That was pretty funny. I love the introduction that they did for her in this episode too. Like the very beginning of this episode was really really cool, and I guess thinking about it now, it ties in perfectly with the end of this episode. It was super minor, and it was when during the training montage, which I really loved, when they went back to Roy and Oliver. Roy said that he didn't sleep well the night before, and it ties in right to the very end of this episode. And it was something I thought was just simple. I honestly thought, oh, he was just helping Thea out with the club because he's like her new assistant manager, I believe, or something like that. And it was like, okay, they're working to get the club back together. He didn't get much sleep. No big deal. That's all there was to it. And actually, it ties into the end of this episode where he's having these crazy nightmares. But I love that little montage of everyone training. We got to see Oliver and Roy training, Thea and Malcolm training, and then we got to see Laurel and the boxer. I can't think of his name, but they were all training, and it was really cool. And Roy kind of lost. Thea was doing pretty well, and Laurel was doing pretty good too. She's continuing her training, and it was really cool of her in this episode. They kind of had her take this step where she was trying to improve herself. She's trying to get stronger and make tough decisions and make them on the fly. And unfortunately, in this episode, she realized she can't just do that. She can't just make decisions on the fly, because sometimes when you do that, it calls for a situation where you should have waited and you should think out every single step along the way. And she kind of made a riot worse than it already was. So I enjoyed that it kind of took her down a little bit, where she had to realize, I can't just train and instantly be strong. I can't just know that I made the right decision. I have to make mistakes, and that's normal. That's what people do. And she opened up to her trainer by the end of this episode, and now she's gonna get into, I think, the more mental aspect of the training, which is pretty cool because there is a lot to training, it's not just punch and twist in the hips and all that stuff. There's a lot of mental stuff that goes into fighting and fighting well. There's a lot of mental balance and a lot of discipline, no matter what type of fighting you're doing, even if it's just boxing. There's a lot of discipline that goes into that mentally. So they're getting into that stage of things, and I thought it was really cool. They didn't spend a ton of time on it because, of course, the focus was on Felicity, but it was really cool that they put those little bits and pieces of the different characters in each episode, in this episode, and they had one for everybody. Roy had his stuff really only in the very beginning and the very end, and he was in the episode helping out, of course. But we got stuff with Thea, which was really great, and her talking with Oliver and how they weren't really meeting, in the middle, and by the end they do, and she invites him to move in and stuff. And I love when they were just watching TV, and Malcolm's just standing on like some random rooftop looking in, and his expression was just like, I have to get rid of half of this equation, and that half is of course Oliver, and he just looked really mad, like, I can't really tell her not to do this because that is her brother, but I really hate her brother and I want to kill him. So like that expression, it just, there was a lot there that you could see, and I thought that was kind of funny. But I enjoyed that, and then of course the stuff with Laurel we got as well. So it was cool that we got all these little moments that were kind of just in there. It was like these problems were happening, they talked about them, and then they went through them, and then boom, you're right back to the main story with Felicity. And it was just really well paced. I think there wasn't too much time spent on anyone else. We got to learn a lot about Felicity, her mother and her father. We got to learn, her goth years and the virus that she made and everything about her. Or maybe not everything, but we learned a lot about her, and that was really, really cool. That was a great, great episode, great focus, a character-focused episode. And of course, it's hard not to have a great episode when you focus on, like, the funniest person in the episode. Plus, you add her mom in, who is just hilarious, especially in the beginning when she was just, everyone was just like coming right to her apartment. So it was just a really funny episode. It had really good action too, and it was, nice suspense based moment in the very beginning when the people first took over and they just blew all the lights out. That was a cool little suspense moment because I wasn't sure exactly how the rest of the episode was gonna go. But the first thing I thought of was actually the season one finale, and the power just shuts off, and like the city's just going into chaos. So I enjoyed that. Oliver pulled a really cool move when he saved the lady, and he like grabbed her and he just jumped on the car and like cracked the window a little. And then he just gets up and is like, "Are you okay?" And he's just perfectly fine, like it was nothing. So I thought that was really cool. We got to see a nice little fight at the end when the team kind of went and they found Felicity because she used the band that Ray gave her mother. So that was really cool too. Diggle got a mask in this one, which I think I mentioned in last week's episode, because they went to like the monastery or like the little compound. Everyone's wearing masks, and he's just like the guy with the gun. So like it was something I really picked up on in this episode. He actually had the mask in this one, so it was really cool. We got to see pretty much every single character, outside of like the League, of course, because that would be like way too much. But it was a great episode. It main focus being Felicity, but it had, I think maybe it probably had about 15 minutes worth of content where it was like Thea and Oliver or Laurel and her dad or something like that. And it was just great. It was very well paced. Everything was put in perfectly, I think. And, you focus on Felicity, you can't help but have a really funny episode. So I think probably my favorite one so far was really great. Great ending, of course. Great twist ending that I wasn't expecting. Of course, comment below, let me know what you guys thought about this one. Favorite parts, least favorite parts. And do you guys really think that Roy actually killed Sarah? And if he did, why did he do it? Who's controlling him? Did he just snap? What's going on? Like, what the heck is happening with Roy right now? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.